Japan is the land of engineering marvels, including Tokyo Skytree, the Akashi Kaikyo Bridge, and the Tokaido Shinkansen. Japan's biggest floating airport is visible from International Space Station, making it an engineering masterpiece. But not every arrow of the tongue always hits the right target. The $20 billion Kansai International Airport might be one of the biggest engineering disasters Japan's ever seen. The airport is sinking into Osaka Bay, and many $billion have been spent trying to save it. Here's a look at why the floating airport is sinking and what the engineers are planning to stop it from happening. 4 kilometers away from the treasury of Japan, a gigantic airport is floating in the sea. This is not the world's first airport built on the sea, but the bridge connecting it to the land is also the longest. But what was left unnoticed at the time of construction that day by day, the airport was sinking into the sea by 10%. Interestingly, Kansai International Airport, serving the Japanese city of Osaka and occupying the 2 artificial islands in Osaka Bay, is supposed to be sinking. It's just sinking a lot faster than engineers anticipated. Since its opening in 1994, Kansai has sunk up to 38 feet. Before diving into other details, let's explore the construction process of Kansai International Airport. The construction of the Kansai International Airport began way back in 1987. The project was estimated to cost about $8 billion. However, the cost of building the airport skyrocketed due to multiple complications and reached $20 billion. But why Japan took this risk of leaving the land and building an airport in the sea? Osaka City is close to Kobe and Kyoto. There are airports within a radius of 50 kilometers, but the increasing population and economic demand raised a need for another airport. The airports were impossible to expand due to the population all around. The only option left was to build an airport on Osaka Bay. Japan's transportation minister chose to build the airport in Osaka Bay because building the airport inland would have cost too much. How ironic. Building the airport on land required space, accompanied by added expense of relocating and compensating residents. Relocating factories and businesses would have cost a lot. Besides everything else, there would have been environmental concerns. The ministry wasn't willing to pay these expenses as the cost would have doubled. If only they knew how much more costly a sinking airport would be. The part of Osaka Bay is about 60 feet deep, and a solid land base was needed to build the airport's first terminal and runway. For this, the construction workers had to create an artificial island. This made it the largest man-made island at the time. The engineers designed 2 islands. One is 4 kilometers, the other 5 kilometers long. Both stand based on a massive seabed. Japan is a country where, to avoid earthquakes, necessary steps are taken. First, 750 million cubic feet of soil was excavated from the mountains to lay sand on the clay seabed. The next step involved installing 2.2 million vertical pipes, each with a diameter of 16 inches. And then they were filled with moisture-absorbing sand. 180 million cubic meters of rock and soil were added to the sand layer to protect the foundation. A 48-kilometer seawall of 48,000 specially designed concrete tetrapods was built around the island. The perimeter of the seawall was built using 69 large steel chambers by pouring stone and rubble into steel chambers. The seawall was designed to protect the airport from dreaded waves. More soil was added until the island reached 65 feet above sea level. After making the island, construction crews began working on the terminal and runway. In 1990, a 3-kilometer bridge connecting the island to Osaka was built, costing about $1 billion. The first terminal opened in 1994, but financial problems quickly arose. The airport was deeply in debt after construction was completed on the first terminal and runway. Annual interest payments were as high as $560 million in the first few years of operation. Famed Italian architect Renzo Piano designed the main terminal building of Kansai International Airport. He was chosen to work on the project because of his unique vision. Government officials wanted to make the terminal shorter than initially planned to save money, but Piano insisted the terminal be built to the intended specifications. The 1.7-kilometer terminal is the longest in the world, but it might look quite different today if Piano had to change his plans last minute. Despite the first island sinking far more than anticipated, engineers believed the situation was under control, so construction began on a second terminal in the runway in 2003. A second island was built using the same process as the first, but engineers adjusted their measurements as they knew this island would sink just as much as the first. Officials deemed the expansion necessary as tourism in Japan was increasing exponentially. Narita Airport and Haneda Airport in Tokyo were also extraordinarily congested, and the Ministry of Transportation wanted to make Kansai International Airport a gateway to Asia. They didn't want to lose customers to Hong Kong and South Korean airports. So why is the airport sinking in the first place? The sinking was inevitable. Unfortunately, engineers seriously underestimated how much the 511-hectare island would sink. Kansai International Airport has already sunk 38 feet during construction. The officials designed the foundation of the island and airport to sink 19 feet. Engineers expected the islands to settle evenly over 50 years and stabilize at 13 feet above sea level, the minimum elevation required to prevent severe flooding if a breach develops in an enclosing seawall. But it's happened in just 10 years, and by 2000, the parts of Kansai Airport's first island reached that limit and had already sunk to just 13 feet above sea level, far sooner than engineers expected. Engineers have since adjusted their calculations and estimate that by 2056, the sections of the two artificial islands could reach below sea level. To prevent this from happening and strengthen and raise the seawall around the airport, at least $150 million has been spent so far. Raising the seawall is one of the many solutions engineers have come up with to stop Kansai International Airport from sinking. Unfortunately, all the other solutions are also temporary measures. Things started to fall apart in 1999. The first island had already sunk 27 feet instead of the estimated 19 feet, so engineers got to work to slow things down. The foundation was fitted with hydraulic checks, which are topped up every 2 years. They excavated the ground below the passenger terminal and inserted a series of iron plates directly below the hydraulic jacks and 900-column foundation. The columns of the foundation were then raised in stages. The foundation of the entire airport is raised about 1.5 inches every 2 years. These measures have slowed the sinking considerably, but came at an exorbitant cost. The price to build the Kansai International Airport had already ballooned to more than $15 billion, making it the most expensive civic work project in history. Kansai International Airport isn't going to sink into Osaka Bay anytime soon, but Japan knows very well that one day the airport will go out of hand. Japan is buying time to build an airport somewhere else in Kansai. There are now meters installed on the columns to measure how much the airport is tilting. If things go down the lane and the corrective measures don't hold and the airport starts to sink faster, it'll have to be abandoned. And a new international airport will have to be built in the Kansai region. Besides the danger of sinking of the airport, climate change might be an even more significant threat. In 2018, the airport was attacked by Typhoon Jabai. The storm was so dangerous that the sea level rose for 10 hours, and all the water entered the Kansai Airport. The airport had to halt operations. Runways were flooded, and water reached up to the engines of some of the planes. Kansai Airport is sinking, but this won't stop the Japanese from doing extraordinary things. Kansai connected Japan to the world, and 26 million passengers used Kansai in 2016 alone. That's all for today. Do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. See ya!